I'm Lynn Bridgeford from Edith, and today in our series on mental health and coaching, we're going to have a look at choice. So we're going to look at specific areas of choice. Choice can be a great thing. We can be spoilt for choice. We can feel we have no choice. We can be between a rock and a hard place, not knowing what to do. We can be like a kid in a sweetie shop with all these sweeties and we have money for just one or two. So, dilemmas, choices, choice. What choice do we have? You could say we always have choice. There are times that we might be in a desperate situation and it looks like we have no choice at all. In fact, there is always a choice that we can make, even in dire circumstances. So my lovely teacher Melody Cheel at Gee Whiz was telling me today about a book by Viktor Frankl that was written about the Holocaust, and it is the search for meaning. So in terrible situations where he was taken into a concentration camp, he made a choice, he made a decision that nothing was going to affect his thinking. He was going to come out of there mentally sound. He made choices, he made decisions. He was going to survive and he was going to come out mentally intact. That's an amazing thing to decide to do in those circumstances. He decided he wanted to stay free in his own mind, so no matter what might happen to his body and the terrible things he may be subjected to, he chose to survive and keep free in his mind, which is an incredible decision to make, incredibly brave, and to stand by. That decision to search for meaning within the self, despite what's going on the outside. So I've ordered the book because I'm really looking forward to reading it, because it's a story of hope and it's a story of resolve, and I believe it's a real inspirational story about how we can make a decision and let that decision, that mental decision, take us through some terrible times. It's about having a focal point. This is what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on survival. I'm focusing on my choice, and my choice is whatever happens here, to go forwards, survive, and come out in a good way and tell the tale, an inspirational tale to help other people. So that sounds like an extraordinary person, an extraordinary situation, and it is. And I would like us all to be inspired by reading and hearing the stories of these incredible people who, in a situation where there appears to be no choice, we always have a choice. Choice always exists. I also heard from a colleague about a similarly inspiring story by a lady called Edith Eger called The Choice. Edith Eger was a dancer, and she would be asked to dance for Mengele, and she was left on a pile of bodies, barely alive at the end of it, and yet survived. And she is also a Holocaust survivor, and apparently is still alive. So if you don't feel inclined to read these kind of stories, because I'm sure they're not always easy, then just take heart from the inspiration that there are people who manage to go through terrible situations by making a choice and letting that help them. And we are all people too, so we can make choices even when it appears there is no choice. What choice do you make to keep you centered with who you are and aligned with who you are? It's always a good practice to think about the choices we make and how they make us. Another inspiring story is by Christopher Reeves, and he was Superman, as we know, Superman, and he was paralyzed and he couldn't breathe without a respirator, an iron lung, and every day they would come and take it off him and see if he could breathe, and he couldn't. And he was understandably depressed and got quite angry because he didn't want to be reminded daily of how he couldn't breathe, so he asked them to just leave him be. In fact, he asked his wife to divorce him because she should just get on with her life and not be held back by him. And her response was, "Why should I divorce you? Because you're still you." And that was a turning point for him, and he wrote a book called Still Me about how that gave him encouragement, and he decided he wanted to breathe again. He even decided he wanted to walk again. So he started asking the medics to take the respirator off so he could practice breathing. And the first time they took it off him, he actually breathed for a few minutes. And within a week, he was up to 7 minutes, and that is apparently a record. So was it his decision that he decided he wanted to breathe? Because he was still me, his wife said, "It's still you." And that gave him some strength. So sometimes our choices come because we get something external that reminds us who we are. He did appear in Superman again as Superman's mentor in his wheelchair. And he didn't walk again. He died of sepsis before then, although he did begin to wiggle his toes. So if he hadn't have died from sepsis, I wonder what he would have been able to do. The mind is amazing, our choices are amazing, human beings are amazing. And when we make the choices that take us forwards, it can seem sometimes like things fall into place to support us. So when it comes back to the more day-to-day choices, where we can feel between a rock and a hard place, out of the fat into the frying pan, spoilt for choice, in a dilemma, don't know what to do, there are some wonderful techniques in NLP, and one of them is to take a look when you have choices, a dilemma, two choices, and on the one hand, this is what you want, and on the other hand, this is what you want. So why would we want to work this out? Because being out of choice, in other words, not making a decision, puts us in a state of flux. I had a very wise lady said to me once, a wrong decision is better than no decision, because at least you've freed yourself up by making a decision, and if you go forwards with the decision you've made and it's not right, you can go back and change it. So this wonderful technique in NLP will look at a situation or a circumstance or an item that you want to choose between and go, well, what are the positives of this side? What are the positive intentions of this part of the choice? And what are the positive intentions of the other? And chunk it up so you find out what is positive about either one. And then you could make it into one choice that has all the benefits of both, and somehow let go of either one and allow the brain, the unconscious mind, to take the best of both and help to make a choice. I've used this quite a lot myself in the last week with some decisions I've had to make, and once I've done one decision, then there would be another one and another one and another one, and I came to a really good outcome by using this technique of dealing with choice. So we always have choice. So even if it's to choose what we do first thing in the morning, do we have a gratitude list? Do we look outside? Do we look around and see things that please us? Do we wake up and think, oh, another day? Or do we wake up and go, hey, I live another day? So a lot of it is about perspective, and it's not about being super positive when everything is awful. It's about being realistic about what is around you, what you can do something about and what you can't, and then making a choice inside within whatever situation you're in. How can I have the best outcome with where I am today? How can I look at something? Is the glass half empty? Is it half full? Is it a good day because I'm still alive? Is it a bad day because I'm still alive? How do you choose to look at it? So you are the only person ultimately who thinks inside your head. I know we have influence from our past, from our teachers, from our siblings, our parents, from things we read, from the media. Come to peace with yourself and listen. Be clear with what really matters to you, and be in touch with little choices every day, little choices that make you feel better. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the choices of life.